focus exclusively on what every European country is worst at in Europe specifically. A quick disclaimer before I begin, though, I wasn't able to find anything that either Austria or Slovenia was the absolute worst at. So if you live in either of those countries, I'm sorry to disappoint you with the bad news. Anyway, let's move on to part 1 of this list with all the European countries between A and K, which begins with Albania, which is the country most likely to experience a natural disaster in Europe. Albania also has the lowest amount of doctors per capita in Europe. It's literally the only country in Europe to have never...
I'm always stuck doing other things in the evening, so I've been a YouTube vlog for a long time. Thank you for always making my day. Thanks, Mr. Cowan's chat. xQcl.
Per capita in Europe, it's literally the only country in Europe to have never received a McDonald's, and it's the country that contributes the least to science in Europe, only publishing 1 scientific paper per 15,000 people in the country. Andorra is the largest country in the world that doesn't have an airport, and it also has the world's worst smoking problem. The average Andorran smokes 6,398 cigarettes a year, which is more than 17 every single day. Maybe it's for the best that they don't have an airport after all, because every
makes no sense.
in a mile radius would be getting tampered with. Armenia has the least powerful passport found anywhere in Europe, with only 20 countries in the world giving them visa-free travel, and they're also ranked as the most militarized society in Europe. I couldn't find anything for Austria, so great going there, guys. If you know something Austrians are the worst.
I mean, question mark. Dude, nobody smokes 6,000 cigarettes a year, motherfucker. That's like 2 whole packs a day, bruh. That's like 2 whole packs a day, bruh.
Please leave a comment. Next up is Azerbaijan, which has Europe's highest infant mortality rate, at over 2% of children dying before the age of 5. They also have Europe's lowest rate of vehicle ownership at only 145 cars per 1,000 people in the country.
Hey, couldn't be me, dude.
And the lowest freedom of the press.
I am a proud car owner.
Belarus, as per usual, has a lot of problems. So here's the gist. They're the only country in Europe that maintains the death penalty, with 4 executions taking place last year, which means that by default, they have the highest execution rate in Europe. They have the highest proportion of people living in modern slavery anywhere in Europe and anywhere in the world outside of Asia or Africa at 11 slaves for every 1,000 people. Belarus is also the least democratic and the most authoritarian country in Europe, and has the lowest amount of renewable energy production in Europe at just 1.2% of their total production.
Guys, that's 1%.
Said, it should come as no surprise that Belarus...
Guys, that's 1%.
Also has the highest consumption of pure alcohol anywhere in the world, with the average person drinking 17.6 liters a year, which is more than 1 shot every day and nearly double the amount of alcohol that Americans consume. Belgium has arguably been hurt the hardest by the coronavirus pandemic out of any other country, because as of this video, they currently have the highest coronavirus death rate in the entire world, at 962 deaths per million in population. Bosnia and Herzegovina has the world's worst landmine contamination problem, with over 2.2% of their land being covered in active minefields. And they also have the worst air quality score in Europe. Bulgaria has the worst population decline in Europe and potentially the entire world. Since 1990, Bulgaria has lost 23% of her population, and the UN expects that she will lose another 23% by 2050. Bulgaria is the poorest country in the EU, and most of her population decline can be attributed to people moving to other, more prosperous EU member states. Croatia has the lowest volume of railroad passengers of any country measured in Europe, but to be fair, not every country in Europe got measured in this report. Cyprus has the lowest average internet speed of any European country at just 6.9 megabits per second, which is 3 times slower speeds than seen in Norway. Further, Cyprus is also the European country with the highest percentage of claimed land under occupation, 40%, which is occupied by both the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus and the United Nations.
That is
Czechia
so
has the
bad.
highest consumption of beer per capita in the world, even more than Belarus. The average Czech drinks 149 liters of beer every year. According to a report by Internations, Denmark is the hardest country in Europe to make friends in, especially for expats moving into the country. Estonia is home to Europe's largest gender pay gap, where men in the country earn wages that are 26% higher than women do on average.
So
Estonia is also the least religious country in the entire world, with 84% of the population saying that religion is not important to their lives.
I'm kidding.
According to a report by the Oxford University Press back from 2009, Finland suffers from the highest rate of depression anywhere in Europe, with approximately 7% of the adult population. Ironically, Finland was also just rated as the world's happiest country by the World Happiness Report. France has the highest number of active land disputes with other countries. They currently have border disputes across the world with Madagascar, Comoros, Mauritius, Vanuatu, Italy, the Netherlands, and Suriname. They also have Europe's largest dependency ratio, meaning the largest percentage of the population that are either children or elderly, meaning that France has the largest strain on their social support system anywhere in Europe. Georgia is home to Europe's...
Guys, I have to ask, okay? This is gonna be really bad, but I have to ask. Let's say in fields like construction, right? We're like, you know, right?
Worst level of income inequality and has the largest number of breakaway states, 2, which are Abkhazia and South Ossetia. Germany is home to the worst homeless crisis in Europe. 79 out of 10,000 people in the country are homeless, or 600...
Okay. Let's say in fields like construction, where there's probably more men, right? Because it's like very like labor and like, you know, physical labor, because of certain biological things, right? Isn't it intended that there will be probably more men than women, therefore them earning more money on that field, therefore ultimately if those fields add up, having a wage gap? Right. So if things were to become very like equal straight up, I can't.
150,000 people total, the highest numbers of homeless people seen anywhere on the continent. Though to be fair, 375,000, or over 57% of those people, are refugees from other countries. Unlike Andorra, Greece has the highest percentage of the population that regularly smokes cigarettes in Europe, and the third highest anywhere in the world. 42.4% of the Greek population over 15 regularly smokes cigarettes. Greece also has the worst debt crisis anywhere in Europe and the second worst anywhere in the world, with a debt to GDP ratio of 180%. Not only that, but Greece was also ranked as the least generous or charitable nation in Europe and the fourth least in the entire world by the World Giving Index. Hungary is home to the highest sales tax seen anywhere in Europe, with a standard rate of 27% for most goods and services.
Chill the
Iceland
fuck
has the
out!
highest consumption of cannabis products in Europe, with over 18% of the population who regularly participate. Although, you could argue this is what she is actually best at, not worst at. Iceland also gets the least amount of sunshine in Europe, with less than 1,200 hours a year. She is Europe's least densely populated country, and she has the least amount of land that's suitable for agriculture, at only 0.07%. The other island that starts with an I in Europe is Ireland, and Ireland not only has the highest rate of cancer in Europe, but she also has the highest rate of cystic fibrosis anywhere in the world. Italy has the lowest college graduation rate on the continent, with only 17% of their population over 25 actually holding a degree. According to the Cultural Diversity Index, Italy is also the least culturally diverse country in Europe, tied with Portugal, and Italy also has Europe's slowest GDP growth rate, with only a 0.3% increase in 2019. Most people don't really think of Kazakhstan as being in Europe, but there is a tiny amount of territory in Europe right here, so it's still technically in Europe, and so I'm still including them in this video. Kazakhstan has the highest amount of underage smokers in Europe, with 4% of boys and 2% of girls participating. And according to the Best Countries Index, Kazakhstan has the least amount of cultural influence for any country with land in Europe. I guess Borat just wasn't enough for people. Sheesh. Meanwhile, Kosovo has Europe's highest and the world's 4th highest unemployment rate at 26%. And Kosovo isn't even a country anyway, depending on who you ask, because Kosovo has the least amount of recognition for any state in Europe. 50% of UN member states and 19% of EU member states do not recognize Kosovo as an independent nation. Most notably Russia, China, India, Brazil, Spain, Ukraine, Romania, and Greece. Now, if you'd like to stop being the worst at something, then I'd recommend you go check out Skillshare next, where they've got a ton of classes on pretty much anything you'd like to get better at. Want to learn illustration? I'd recommend Mastering Illustration by Josiah Brooks.
Potato Man goes
better at, well, life? My friend Ali Abdal will teach you a master class.
5,000 bits are crazy, dude!
When you're a Skillshare member,
can you watch this? Sure, man, if it's good.
As well as thousands of others on any subject you can imagine.
Pog. Part 2? Guys, it's 11 minutes long.
This video was made possible.
Guys, it's 11 minutes long. Come on now. What is this? This is so dumb. Guys, Guinness World Records are so stupid nowadays. They didn't like longest plank, really? God, okay, watch part 2 then. We'll watch it. My God, this chat.
Get a free audiobook when you sign up at Audible.
Stop pressuring me! Did it. Guys, I'm gonna pull off the fucking TikTok, man.
Real life lore.
Every country in the world
TikTok is best and worst at something, and you're watching part 2 of what every country in Europe specifically is the worst at. Part 1 covered every European country between A and K, and it's linked in the description if you need to watch it. And this part is covering every country between L and V. So let's kick things off.
Hold up. Guys, do I ban this guy? TikTok is better than your dog shit opinions. He's been following since July 3rd and 500 messages. Do we ban this guy or not? Do we ban him? He's right. Okay.
Off with Latvia, which has plenty of potatoes, but doesn't have plenty of men. Latvia has the least amount of men per capita in Europe, with only 0.86 men in the country for every 1 woman. Liechtenstein is technically the least visited country in Europe, but that's mostly just because it's so small. They only received 69,000 visitors in 2017. Lithuania is actually tied precisely with Latvia for having the least amount of men in the country. There are 16% more women in both Lithuania and Latvia than men. For being so tiny, Luxembourg is actually the worst in Europe at a lot of things. For starters, they have the largest ecological footprint of any country in the entire world. The average Luxembourger has double the ecological
what now?
Country in the entire world. The average Luxembourger has double the ecological footprint of the average American. Luxembourg produces the most CO2 emissions per capita of any country in Europe. They have the world's highest divorce rate at roughly 87% of marriages ending in one, and they have the highest rent found anywhere in Europe and the 3rd highest in the entire world. The average rent for a 1-bedroom apartment in the city center is over 1,500 euros a month. Malta is Europe's hottest country, with an average yearly temperature of 19.2 degrees Celsius. It's also Europe's most religious country, excluding the Vatican, with 86% of the population saying that religion is important to their
California
lives,
is bad.
which makes Malta...
California is bad because of like places like LA, you know, like Santa Monica, whatever the fuck, right? But if you go out of LA, out of middle, dude, in California overall, it's not that high.
Roughly just as religious as Estonia is irreligious. Malta also has Europe's lowest literacy rate, with 6.7% of the population over 15 not being able to read or write. Moldova has a lot of issues. According to the IMF, Moldova has the lowest GDP per capita of any country in Europe, at only $3,300 per citizen. Moldova also has the highest rate of deurbanization in the world, with a city growth rate of negative 1.5% on average per year. Moldova is also truly Europe's least visited country, since they only received 145,000 visitors for all of 2017, which is only one tourist for every 24 citizens in the country. People just don't ever come to visit Moldova, and for decent reasons. It has the worst access to improved sanitation facilities in Europe, with only 76% of the population having access to a toilet. And it also has Europe's highest amount of child labor, with 24.3% of the children in the country taking part in the labor force, according to UNICEF. Monaco has the lowest percentage of young people in the world, with the average age of...
Okay, Beast, listen, dude, you've been on a hot list. I'm giving you a 1 hour ban.
Their citizens being 52.4 years.
What is wrong,
they
man?
also spend the least on education in Europe, with only 1.5% of Monaco's GDP being contributed. Excluding the tiny city-states of Liechtenstein and San Marino, Montenegro has Europe's shortest, tallest building. The tallest building in the country is only 65 meters
He said Craigasm. You're just fucking weird, dude.
tall, which is even shorter than the tallest
got that
buildings
number way
in
longer than 1
Andorra,
hour.
Monaco, Vatican City, and Malta. The Netherlands has the highest rate of wealth inequality
Yeah,
not only
you
in
got
Europe,
that.
but in the entire world. The top 1% of Dutch citizens own more than 1/3 of all the private wealth in the country. The Netherlands also has the most disappointing record in the FIFA World Cup, since they've gotten the runner-up place 3 times now and have yet to ever
Wealth
actually
inequality.
win, the highest number of runner-ups without a victory of any country in the world. North Macedonia has an even worse track record in sports, however, because they have Europe's worst performance at the Olympics, having only ever won a single bronze medal for wrestling back in the 2000 games at Sydney. Norway doesn't really have many bad things to say about it, but I guess they do have Europe's most expensive beer and petrol prices at nearly €7 for a pint of beer and nearly €2 for a liter of petrol. Theoretically, Poland has the most restrictive abortion laws anywhere in Europe. I say theoretically because Vatican City, Malta, San Marino, and Andorra all have more restrictions than Poland do, but they're also all very tiny countries, whereas Poland has the most restrictions of any European nation state and more than anywhere else besides those 4 tiny countries. They are restricted only to cases where the mother's life is in danger, mental or physical health, rape, and or fetal defects. Portugal has Europe's highest high school dropout rate, with only 60% of the population having completed secondary education. And according to a poll by AirHelp, the lowest rated airport in the entire world is also in Portugal, Lisbon Portela Airport. Romania has the lowest amount of movie theaters per capita in Europe, while Russia has a lot of problems. I could make an entire video just about all of the problems Russia has, but here's the quick version. They have the worst traffic in Europe and Europe's most dangerous roads with the highest number of average traffic deaths. They have the highest suicide rate in all of Europe and the highest for men specifically in the entire world. They have Europe's highest incarceration rate with 363 prisoners per 100,000 people.
Holy shit, wait a minute. Wait, that's... I'm confused. Incarcerated... Jeez, man. USA is rolling, dude. They're off the charts.
Russia is the most corrupt...
Guys, USA is ranked with everything, dude. Jesus, man.
In Europe,
nobody can beat them.
Transparency International. They have the highest rate of opiate usage in Europe and the third highest in the world at 1.64% of the population actively using. They have the highest rate of HIV infection in Europe at 1.2% of the population and have Europe's highest homicide rate. You're 8 times more likely to be murdered in Russia than you are in Germany. Russia has the lowest minimum wage in Europe at just 66 US cents per hour. And according to the Gay Travel Index, Russia is also by far the most unfriendly country in Europe towards LGBT people and among the worst places in the entire world to live as an LGBT person, on a par with Afghanistan or Libya. Moving on, San Marino is the most difficult country in Europe to conduct business in according to the Ease of Doing Business Index, and it's the least linguistically diverse country in Europe as well. Serbia has the worst gun problem in Europe, with Europe's highest firearm-related death rate. Slovakia has the lowest voter turnout of any country in Europe, with
What's that?
23%
What's the
of
voter
eligible
turnout?
voters in the country actually voting in the last European Parliament elections in 2019.
Wait a minute.
Voters in the country actually voting with only 23% of eligible voters in the country actually voting in the last European Parliament elections in 2019, which is a much lower turnout than even Americans had in the 2016 presidential election that saw 55% turnout. People just don't vote in Slovakia, but in addition to that, Slovakia is also probably Europe's most racist country. A study conducted by the European Commission in 2015 asked people in EU member states how they would feel about their children dating somebody from a different background, and Slovakia gave back the most prejudiced results, with very high majorities of people saying that they wouldn't be comfortable with it. I couldn't find anything that Slovenia was the worst at other than being confused for Slovakia all the time. So, great job, guys. Other than Russia, Spain has the highest number of active separatist movements in Europe, with 12 ongoing, some of which have pretty widespread support. At least 42% of the population in Catalonia favors independence. 33% of the population in the Basque country do as well, and around 25% of the population in Galicia. Spain is perhaps the least likely country in Europe to survive by the end of the 21st century. Weirdly, Sweden has the highest number of grenade and bomb attacks ever in Europe, with over 100 such attacks taking place in 2019 alone. Switzerland has the lowest rate of home ownership in Europe at only 43.4% of the population actually owning theirs. Perhaps this is because Switzerland is also the most expensive country in the entire world to live in. They have the world's highest cost of living, highest priced restaurants, highest priced groceries, and highest priced mobile data anywhere in the world. Zurich and Geneva are both the most expensive cities to live anywhere in Europe and among the highest priced cities anywhere in the world. Turkey has the lowest level of...
Guys, chat. Here's my own stats for the day, right? This is the video where we had to do ban phrases and ban words in chat the most out of the last what the fuck video this last year, dude. Yep. We had to do, I think, 5 banned phrases in 10 minutes. Jesus, dude. We had to do really though 3 times, and Nelly, Craigasm. What the fuck is wrong with y'all, motherfuckers?
English proficiency in Europe at only 47% of the population. That's still kind of a lot. Anyway, Turkey also has the lowest freedom of the press score in Europe, the highest number of journalists imprisoned anywhere in the world, Europe's highest obesity rate at 32% of the population, the lowest overall gender equality score in Europe, and according to the Fragile States Index, Turkey is also Europe's least stable country with the highest number of terrorist incidents of any country with land on the continent. Ukraine has Europe's lowest birth rate at only 1.3 children per 1 woman in the country. They also have Europe's lowest life expectancy at only 72 years, which is over a decade lower than Italians with 83.6 years. Men in Ukraine only have life expectancies of 67 years, which is on a par with men in Pakistan or Syria. And according to the same World Happiness Report that rated Finland as the world's happiest country, they also rated Ukraine as Europe's least happy. They have the lowest amount of internet users in Europe.
Wait, chat, I have to ask chat. What is, let's say, NA's life expectancy? Does anybody know? Anybody knows how much? 76? 78? Oh, okay. It's still a big gap. It's crazy in the current year, dude.
With only...
You guys... It's like 80, 76. it's crazy how we don't really think about these numbers that much, dude, but it's a crazy difference.
Ukraine as Europe's least happy. They have the lowest amount of internet users in Europe, with only 57% of the population being connected. Ukrainian citizens are also the poorest in all of Europe, with the average Ukrainian only having a mean net worth of $8,792 US, which is poorer than the average citizen of Kenya or Nicaragua is. On the complete opposite side of the spectrum, the United Kingdom has the highest usage of—
What is net worth? Is it everything you own? Assets, property, material, money?
Cocaine anywhere in the world, with roughly 2.7% of adults who actively use it. And finally, Vatican City is the final and sole surviving absolute monarchy in Europe, which pretty much by default makes it the least democratic country in Europe. And now that you've made it this far, getting through me telling you what your favorite countries in Europe are the worst at, I think you deserve a reward. A free audiobook at Audible when you sign up using the link audible.com/real-life-lore. You can go right now and get any single audiobook you want, but personally, I'd go with The End Is Always Near by Dan Carlin, the guy who makes the critically